Well, I was hoping to be able to do a video for you today about the 5 or the 10 most underrated neighborhoods to live in DC. But sadly, this area is so densely populated that finding that like gem hidden among everything else, or the needle in the haystack that has kind of been overlooked by everybody else, is really, really difficult. So what I decided to do was take a breather, back away from it, and then think about it from another aspect. So what I came up with is this. If I had extra cash and the wherewithal to buy another investment property, where would I, Melissa Terzis, DC real estate mama, buy a property in the DC metro area? And so that's what I decided to do and to talk about. And honestly, it only came down to 3 neighborhoods that I think are gems that really need to be looked at and where they are potentially undervalued for what the future holds for these neighborhoods. So let's talk about them. All right, so I already introduced myself. You already know who I am. This channel's Living in DC. We talk about all things living in DC to include the surrounding metro area. If that is your jam, that's what you like, hit the subscribe button or the little bell notification so that whenever I do a new video, you will get notified of it. If you need me, my contact info I'm gonna put on the screen here. It's also gonna be at the end of the video. Obviously, I'm a real estate agent. I can help you with all of these kind of things if you are so desiring to move to the metro area or within the metro area. All right, let's talk about these 3 neighborhoods. Let's get going. First neighborhood is Twinbrook. I love Twinbrook. Twinbrook is part of Rockville. It's the east part of Rockville, just near where Twinbrook Metro is, so that's how you can easily find it. And it's bisected by Veirs Mill. So there's part of Twinbrook on one side and sort of part on the other side. Historically, this has been a middle-class neighborhood with many what they might call starter homes built in the 40s and 50s. But before you think like, ooh, mid-century modern, this wasn't the cool like open concept mid-century modern. It's more like the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot like ranch or split level home. Still adorable, still have a lot of really great features, but if they get torn down and rebuilt into a McMansion, nobody is sitting on the curb crying like, oh my God, that was a gorgeous charmer that you tore down. How could you do it? Not really. People are fine with that. You don't really see a lot of teardowns, but they are happening in this neighborhood. Regardless, I would say that the houses here are on average like $100,000 less expensive than the same house in other parts of Rockville. So that makes it worth taking a look at. Twinbrook is a few blocks from the Red Line Metro stop, and so it does have its own little Metro stop, Twinbrook. It's across Rockville Pike from Pike and Rose, as well as a ton of other shops and restaurants that are along Rockville Pike. You can hop into Rock Creek Park. You can go for a run on the trails, walk your dogs within a couple minutes because it's also situated right near Rock Creek Park as well. So Twinbrook, as I said, spans both sides of Veirs Mill, and that makes it that the part on the east side of Veirs Mill isn't as metro accessible. And so before you think like, great, she's telling us about this great neighborhood, but she already cut it in half and told us that half of it's not as walkable and metro accessible as the other half, I have a little bit of a consolation prize here. There's a northern part of the triangle of Twinbrook, and it's actually, so it's bordered where you've got Rockville Pike, Veirs Mill, and Twinbrook Parkway, and that's actually the northern edge of that triangle, the top part of the triangle, as you get closer to downtown Rockville, is actually a neighborhood called Rock Crest, and I think that that would also easily be included in the part of Twinbrook that I am discussing and that I think is part of the hidden gem. Rock Crest is a little bit less developed. The houses are older, sometimes a little bit more run down, but this area is sort of prime for like future, so it's something that I would completely keep your eye on the whole thing. Most of Twinbrook west of Veirs Mill is currently zoned for Twinbrook Elementary, Julius West Middle School, and Richard Montgomery High School. Richard Montgomery High School is an IB school, so it's one of the very highly desired high schools, so being in this pyramid is a good thing. The future is even brighter for Twinbrook. By 2024, the neighborhood's going to be a few blocks from a brand new Wegmans, which is under construction now. All right, the second neighborhood that I think is completely like this hidden gem in the metro area is Barcroft. Now I need to make a clarification. People hear Barcroft and they think Lake Barcroft. No, Lake Barcroft is west of Barcroft. It's outside of the Arlington boundary. It's actually its own CDP or census designated place. I'm not talking about Lake Barcroft, although that's a very lovely place as well. I am talking about Barcroft, which is part of Arlington, and it's South Arlington. So unlike Twinbrook, there are actually a lot of different house types in Barcroft. Twinbrook is a lot of just single family homes. homes. You're going to find everything in Barcroft, from condos, attached townhomes in the 500s, and then ranch-style homes that might need renovation, priced in the 600s, and then from the 700s all the way to tear-down new construction, which might be like 1.5 million. So you definitely have your choice, and there's a lot happening here. Something to really take note of about Barcroft is that it's a quick 10 to 15 minute commute to where the new Amazon National Landing is going to be. And it's also, that is right in sort of the shadows of Reagan National Airport. So these are things that I think make Barcroft this really well located neighborhood that is worth keeping an eye on. I had a client who recently, she bought a house with me 5 years ago and then sold it in Barcroft, was very sad to leave the neighborhood. She said it was very community oriented. Everybody really was very friendly. They were kind of, you know, on each other's porches, chatting and stuff like that. So Barcroft's northern border is Route 50, which is known for not only that it separates North Arlington and South Arlington, but there's a ton of stores along Route 50. So you've got that as well. So on the southern border of Barcroft, you have Columbia Pike. And Columbia Pike, you may look at this and be like, this isn't really much to write home about, but there's a lot of really good restaurants and well-rated restaurants here, and there's a lot happening because, as I said, it's part of the revitalization corridor for Arlington. There's lots of other conveniences that you can get to from Columbia Pike, and then just south of Columbia Pike, you have Barcroft Recreation Center. So that is also another gem in Arlington. Arlington County's Parks and Recs is actually like an unbelievable system, and I have to wait because I'm not a resident of Arlington, but I have to wait chomping at the bit trying to get into some classes because they offer some great stuff. Lots of awesome classes, sports leagues, everything hosted here, so it's a huge rec center that you'll be happy that you live near. For schools, you're going to be zoned to Barcroft Elementary, Kenmore Middle, and Wakefield High School. Other awesome things about Barcroft is that you have really easy access to the W&OD Trail and 4 Mile Run Trail. They go right alongside the neighborhood, and you can, in some cases, just walk to the end of your street, jump on the trails. There's also the Glen Carlin Dog Park, and there's a playground there as well. And then you've got Harris Teeter, which is also walking distance. I mean, it's down a hill, so you'd have to come back up the hill with your groceries. But I think it counts for walking distance. You'll probably take your car. They have parking underneath Harris Teeter. But regardless, you can get your groceries in a hot second. Okay, so the last neighborhood that I want to talk about that I think is like a gem in DC is Rock Creek Palisades. So we're going back up to Maryland for this one. So Rock Creek Palisades and Rock Creek Woods are right next to each other. They have similar names, but they're somewhat different. So Rock Creek Woods is a cluster of 76 homes designed by mid-century modern architect Charles Goodman, who's done quite a few communities around the DC area. Rock Creek Woods is just north of Rock Creek Palisades, and the boundaries of that are Connecticut Avenue on the west, and then Rock Creek Park, and it is just north of Connecticut Avenue where it splits with University. It's kind of like its own little pocket. You go in and you've got just a couple streets that do like a horseshoe loop, so it doesn't contiguously run from like other neighborhoods, so you have to go in and find this little pocket. So Rock Creek is, in a nutshell, difficult to get into. The homes there sell at a premium over list price, and they're very highly sought after, which is why it's worth mentioning. And if I didn't mention it, you'd probably be like, why is this idiot not mentioning that there's these awesome mid-century modern homes? There are, but you're not going to get these for a steal. You're going to pay a premium for them. These houses also, interestingly enough, have a Silver Spring mailing address, but the real gem, in my opinion, is the little brother to Rock Creek Woods, which is Rock Creek Palisades. And so that is just south. Less glamorous, but the price differential is astonishing and something to take note of. So where the mid-century houses in Rock Creek Woods are going to go close to the $1 million mark, in some cases above, you can easily get into Rock Creek Palisades for $500,000 to $700,000. In many cases, the homes also retain a mid-century style, although they're not part of the Goodman community, so they don't have a lot of the features of the mid-century, but that his community has, but they do have a lot of really awesome open concept, giant windows, really like that indoor-outdoor living kind of feel. And so you're not going to feel like slighted by living there, especially when you say, I paid $500,000 less than you Goodman community houses. Anyway, all right, so relatively affordable, adorable, walkable. This is actually a really great location. You can easily access Rock Creek Park here, and the trail's within a couple blocks, and downtown Kensington is just a couple steps away, a few blocks to the south. Currently, this neighborhood is zoned for Rockview Elementary, which is right in the neighborhood, and a lot of people walk to Rockview, Newport Middle, and Einstein High School. Einstein's part of what they call the Down County Consortium. I do a Montgomery County video and talk a little bit about that as well, but it's basically a grouping of high schools where you have your in-boundary school, but you can also apply to any of the others and have a preference for any of the other schools that are in that consortium. Consortia? I think consortia might be the plural. So then there's also a new high school coming that's going to service parts of Kensington and West, and this area is possibly going to be zoned for that, but it's still, everything is still so up in the air, so it's hard to know. But just know that they're going to be bringing a new high school to alleviate overcrowding at all of the other high schools in the DCC, as they call it, or the Downtown County Consortium. So what I was going for here with these houses was a combination of affordable plus location and then access to recreation and restaurants. And so I also pay attention to neighborhoods where the surrounding homes the prices are a lot higher. So if you've got this little pocket where the prices are lower, I think that that's always worth paying attention to, because a rising tide raises all ships, right? And we know this, we've seen this happen. And so it's only a matter of time before the creep happens and people are like, I'm gonna creep into this next neighborhood, even though it may not have the, cachet that the other neighborhood does. Regardless, eventually prices are gonna kind of improve across the board, and as homes get renovated and updated and added onto, and then people start getting higher and higher prices, things start equaling out, and then you start to see like, oh, you got in at a good time because you got in when the prices were low. So if you have any questions at all about real estate or these neighborhoods that I'm in and out of constantly that I think are wonderful little gems, I am Melissa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama. My contact info is coming next.